Pokemon Sword and Shield have been out for a few weeks already, and with them came a slew of new Pokemon, from walking Stonehenges to Doug Dimmadome's long-lost cousin. We got it all. Specifically, 81 new Pokemon and 13 new regional variants. I actually love nearly every one of them. It feels like each Pokemon has its own personality and a story to tell. However, that doesn't necessarily always translate to battle. Today we'll be looking at the top 10 weakest Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield. This was actually a bit of a challenge. There aren't really that many new Pokemon that I would consider weak. Of course, out of the fully evolved or single stage Pokemon. Nonetheless, I will try to pick out the worst of the worst. With that being said, here are some factors that we took into consideration when deciding how weak a Pokemon is. A Pokemon's base stat total, their ability, their moveset and the type coverage they get from it, their typing, and most importantly, how good is their shiny from an aesthetic standpoint. Okay, alright, maybe not that last one, but yeah, that is the basis that we'll be going by. Oh, and I said we because I won't be alone on this video.
Hey guys, my name is MysticUmbreon, and I do a variety of Pokemon content over on my channel. Today I'm here to help 4th Gen find out what Pokemon are the weakest in the Galar Dex. After you're done here, and if you're new to Pokemon Shield, we created the best team possible to complete that game with over on my channel. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check that out when you're done here. Also, 4th Gen, thanks so much for having me on.
Kicking things off at the number 10 spot, the best of the worst is Greedent. That is right, Greedent is actually at the top of this list. Greedent is not that bad of a Pokemon. So starting off with the pros, this is a bulky boy. He has 120 HP, 95 defense, and 75 special defense, which is decent enough when you do have 120 HP, and it has 95 attack. It also gets some great TR coverage, learning Earthquake, Body Press, Psychic Fangs, Wild Charge, and Seed Bomb. The only cons with Greedent is its 20 speed. That is absolutely abysmal. It will outspeed barely anything ever unless you have a Trick Room up. And its ability is also rather situational. If you want to give it anything other than a berry, then you won't really be taking advantage of its ability. With that being said, Greedent is definitely the best of the worst in my opinion.
Sliding up next to number 9 on this list is Indeedy. Now Indeedy has a male and female form. The male one is more offensive, while the female one is more on the defensive side. The stats don't look all that bad on paper, but when put into execution, it's not that great. Going into the cons, the male form is 55 defense, and the female one has 65 defense. Some of the moves it gets level up are Stored Power and Disarming Voice, which aren't all that great. Psychic and Psybeam though, however, are the basic psychic attacks, and any average Psychic Mon gets those. Those moves are actually pretty good. The male also has a poor HP set of 60 and the female has 70. Getting into the pros, the male has a 105 special attack and female has 95 special attack. Speed is also pretty good on the pro side. The male one has 95 and 85 for the female. High special defense is also nice for the male, being 95 and 105 for the female. So there are a few pros and cons with Indeedy, but it's not the worst Pokemon in the world.
In the number 8 hole, we have Phalanx, and I hate to put this thing on this list. I was surprised that it made the cut. I love this thing. Its design is awesome, its shiny is actually really cool, and I love its concept. However, it is actually one of the weaker Pokemon that was introduced in this game. But hey, let's talk about what makes Phalanx awesome first. So, it has solid attack and defense, 100 in each of those stats. It even gets some really good coverage after you teach TRs. You get Poison Jab, Iron Head, Throat Chop, and Zen Headbutt. And it also gets Battle Armor, which blocks all critical hits. A solid ability. Although that's where the good news stops. Its special defense is a measly 60, its HP is also a measly 65, and that also doesn't help considering that one of its strengths is its 100 defense. That 65 HP kind of negates that just a little bit. It also only gets bug and fighting moves via level up. This is definitely remedied by getting TRs, but if you're just playing this in a playthrough, you're only gonna get bug and fighting moves. That's a little bit of a shame. Also, 75 speed is not bad, but especially seeing how fast this moves in the overworld, I would hope for this to be closer to 90 or 100. That would really bring this Pokemon to the next level and take it off this list.
Next up, we have the Gulping Pokemon Cramorant. Although its Gulp mode ability is unique, this Pokemon falls a bit short when we take a look at at its stats. For starters, if we look at the base stat total of 475, that is quite low, and none of Cramorant's base stats surpass that 100 base threshold. And Cramorant's move pool is quite lacking, with the only moves for coverage would be Superpower. And Cramorant's move pool is also quite lacking, with only moves like Superpower, Throat Chop, and Steel Wing. But coming from just a base 85 attack stat, it isn't going to do much. And it's rather frail with 70 base HP and 55 defense.
Next up on this list, we have Galarian Stunfisk, and I love this Pokemon. I love its design. I think it's super cool, and honestly, it has some strengths, but it is definitely a weaker Pokemon. So, starting things off with the pros, this thing has some good stats. It has 109 HP, 99 defense, 84 special defense, and it has a ton of resistances. It resists normal, flying, rock, bug, steel, psychic, dragon, and fairy, and it's immune to poison and electric. Those are some stacked type resistances. I love to see that. However, after that, the story starts to change a bit. This thing is awfully slow with 32 speed. It won't be able to outspeed much of anything unless you're talking about Greedent, and that isn't the end of the world. However, with only 81 attack, that's a fine. 81 is not the end of the world. You won't be able to sweep through teams, and you won't be able to take advantage of that bulk all too much. All it takes is a Pokemon with Flamethrower, and this thing will be gone rather quickly. Its ability is also rather situational, and it may catch you by surprise. Its ability makes it so that its typing changes based off of the terrain that it's on. So while you can build teams around this, it may end up biting you in the butt if someone else sets up a terrain that doesn't work in your advantage. It's a bit of an odd ability, and I'm not sure how it's going to work in competitive. But overall, Galarian Stunfisk, it's a very interesting Pokemon. I would love to use it. However, it has a lot of weaknesses, and that's why it's on this list.
Right up the middle of the pack, we have the spicy mascot of the Minnesota Vikings, Persiker. Galarian Meowth evolves into this very history-filled Pokemon, but unfortunately, it really just misses the mark. It doesn't have a very interesting ability in Steely Spirit, which gives Persiker a double stab boost on its Steel-type moves, and gives its partner Pokemon stab on Steel moves. Persiker has an interestingly versatile move pool with access to Play Rough, Throat Chop, Close Combat, and Seed Bomb. Unfortunately, where this Pokemon is lacking is the base 50 speed, which is really slow, but not slow enough for a Trick Room team, and its base 70 HP and 60 special defense is rather frail and is not too hard to knock out. I personally think Persiker is a decent Pokemon. It just has a bit too many flaws to really get going.
Coming up next in the number 4 spot, we have Eldegoss. And man, I feel so bad putting so many of these Pokemon on this list because I love all of them. I think they're so cool. I mean, most of them at least. Eldegoss just flying through the winds. I love Eldegoss so much. Well, let's talk about what I love about it. So, its pros. It has a saucy 120 special defense and an also not bad 90 defense. However, that is really where the pros start to end. All of its other stats are not that impressive. It has 80 special attack, which is fine, but its 60 speed means that it will be outsped by so many Pokemon, and its 60 HP somewhat negates the fact that we have such good defenses. I mean, I just wouldn't feel that safe bringing this thing in to take some hits. It would be fine defensively, but it's not as good as that 120 special defense would make it seem. Although the biggest con about Eldegoss and why it is so low on this list is its awful coverage. It only gets grass moves via level up. And if you want to go and teach it a TR or a TM, the only special attacking move that is not a grass or normal type move is Pollen Puff. That's right, only one move is a bug type move. No other options. That definitely hurts this thing, and I'm not that big of a fan of it. Well, in terms of looking at it from a weakness standpoint. I still love you, and I think you look cool, so I mean, I love you, Eldegoss. I'm sorry.
Pinkerton is actually one of the cuter Pokemon in these games. It's also a pure electric typing, which caught me off guard at first. Unfortunately, though, despite being cute, it is one of the weakest Pokemon Galar has to offer. Some cons I'm going to get into about it is the fact that a lot of walls outclass this specific typing of Pokemon. There are better wall options out there like Rotom Wash, and it has a plethora of utility moves like Thunder Wave, Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, etc. Rotom Wash also has higher speed, making it a wall, but able to outspeed other walls in the meta as well. The base 15 speed stat on Pinkerton isn't going to do anything. The typing of Pure Electric was an interesting take on a wall-like Pokemon, but at the same time, Pure Electric is more of an offensive typing. Other than those cons it also has a few pros working for it. It's got decently high attacking stats, which are base 1 of 5 attack and 95 special attack. I can see Pinkerton doing semi-well in a Trick Room though, but there are definitely better options for Trick Room too.
And the runner-up for the weakest Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield is Thievul, and I'm so sorry to share this with you all. I know there are a lot of fans out there of Nickit. I do enjoy its design. However, this is definitely one of the weakest Pokemon in this game. It earns the silver medal for the weakest Pokemon introduced in this game. Now, before I talk about why it is in the number 2 spot, let me tell you why it's not in the number 1 spot. So it is fast. That is cool. It has 90 speed. That's nice. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but that's pretty good. It is also somewhat specially bulky. It has 92 special defense, although that is its highest stat. That's not too exciting. Its 87 special attack is also decent. It's definitely solid, but those are its standout stats. That is where the good news actually ends for this Pokemon. I honestly had higher hopes for Thievul when I saw its first evolution. Thievul has 70 HP, which is definitely on the mediocre side, but with 58 defense, I would be very scared to bring this thing into battle and take some hits, especially, let's say, in a Nuzlocke scenario. Also, speaking of a Nuzlocke, if you teach this thing level up moves, you will only learn dark and normal type level up moves, and you will only learn one special attacking move via level up in Snarl. Every other move it learns is physical, and its physical attack is 58 as opposed to its special attack being 87. It does get some TRs, but not many. It gets Psychic, Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, which by the way, it should just get by level up, and Grass Knot. Those are a few, but those are the only useful ones. Overall, Thievul is not a bad Pokemon. It is just rather weak. It doesn't really do anything amazingly. It just does one thing decently, I guess. It can be somewhat fast and hit slightly hard on the special attacking side. However, that physical defense and honestly lukewarm move pool, especially on the level up side, I don't like this thing from, of course, a battle standpoint. If I ever got a Nickit in a Nuzlocke, I would definitely resist from using it if I had the choice.
Going into the number 1 spot on this list, we have the Pikachu clone of this generation being Morpeko. I love Morpeko in terms of design. I know I trashed it in my personal top 10 worst Pokemon video, but I kind of regret it now. However, in terms of competitive viability, it is a Pikachu clone after all, and Pikachu clones aren't that great unless you're Sage Park and know how to use Pachirisu. But Sagen's a god, so that's a different story. Morpeko is fast compared to some Pokemon, having 97 speed and 95 attack, and that's not all that bad. But its signature move is 110 base power, and with 95 attack, I don't see it denting that hard. Aura Wheel is also very interesting, and it changes the typing based on the mode it's in. Hangry mode is dark, and Full Belly is electric. It changes every turn essentially. It's an interesting concept in theory, but its execution I feel could be much better, especially with how powerful Aura Wheel can be if put on a stronger electric type Pokemon. Morpeko is just another Pikachu clone, and we personally think it's the weakest Pokemon in Galar.
And there you have it. Those are the top 10 weakest Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield, of course, in our opinion. Is this how you thought the list was going to turn out? Were there any surprises? Probably the biggest for me was Greedent being at the very top of the list. I was impressed by his stats, I'm not going to lie. Also, its coverage. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out the best team for Pokemon Shield on MysticUmbreon's channel. And, of course, a big thank you to Mystic for joining me on this video. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It was a lot of fun to be here.
And hey, if you guys are new here, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notifications for new videos, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.